Okay, I think we're going to get started. Let me just get the thumbs up from IT to make sure. Okay, we're good. Welcome. This evening, we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. And it looks like Councilmember Daly is running late, so Councilmember Popescu will start us off with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. So we could start with those, and then we'll do the roll call. Sorry.
It's okay. So, bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to live in this amazing country where we have free elections. People have the opportunity to express who they want as their leader. We ask that you continue to bless our country, our state, and our city. We ask that you be with us tonight and guide us and protect us. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could do the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Spencer Wong.
Present.
Councilmember Popescu.
Here.
Councilmember Rigsby.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Daly.
Here.
Mayor Duper.
Present.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, are there any items to be added or deleted?
I do not have any item to be added or deleted, but I do have modification to the consent calendar item 3F. There's a modification to the agreement that the city attorney are review and approve it. So that's it.
Okay. We will now go into public participation. Any member of the public wishing to speak on a non-agendized item. City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We don't have any that registered.
Okay. All right, thank you. Seeing nobody, we're going to move on to our scheduled items. First is 2A, which is a public hearing on the Landscape Maintenance District annexations.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor. To declare landscape assessment district for the Canyon Ranch, which is the new subdivision. One is to the north of Korean Church, and another one is to the south of Korean Church.
Okay. And
Clerk.
Madam Clerk, I believe you have some ballots that we need to open.
Yes, I do. I received 2 ballots, one for each annexation. So I'm going to open the ballot for annexation 78. And they voted in favor of the assessment. And then I have, I'll open the ballot for annexation 79. We received 1. And they voted in favor of the assessment as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Attorney, do we just take a motion on this, or do we move? How do we move next on this?
Yes, the recommendation is that the city council adopt that bill number R 2024-36. That'll take care of it.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll go ahead and move the item. Adopt Council Bill R 2024-36.
Second.
Madam Clerk, we have a first and a second.
I'm sorry, a little slow on this. I'm sorry, who is this?
Councilmember Popescu is first.
I made the motion, and Dr. Rigsby.
Thank you. The motion is to adopt Council Bill R-2024-36, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Loma Linda confirming the annexation of annexation number 78 Gold Crest Tract 20417 and annexation number 79 Sierra Crest Tract 20442. Annexation territories into Loma Linda Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, attaches a diagram and assessment related thereto, overruling all protests concerning the assessments and ordering the levy and collection of assessments beginning in fiscal year 2025-26. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2B, which is a community garden operations and needs analysis report by citizen Amy Jones.
Thanks. I brought a friend, Jane. Hi. She's our garden expert. So we have opened the community garden about 6.5 years ago. So we thought it might be time to come and share some of our updates with council and all the important people in the city. All the pictures you'll see in the slideshow are from the garden, so feel free to be really impressed and maybe do some oohs and ahs. So, if anyone has social media, go ahead and give us a follow so you can stay up to date with all of our activities, classes, and events. You need to take your phone out to follow it. Okay, so we're going to give a little history. So, since it doesn't seem like there's a lot of items on the agenda, we'll probably just need about 60 minutes to go through our presentation. Just kidding. That's a joke. So 2018, I asked the city manager, Jarb, if we could open up the garden, and thankfully he said yes. So there was a little bit of a transition period in there when we first opened the garden. What the format was, the garden gate opened and I went in and I provided everything for the garden. So we didn't receive any supplies, we didn't receive any irrigation, we didn't receive any labor help, so I fundraised everything that we had for wheelbarrows, tools, hoses, and all of those kind of items until 2020. And then, we spoke with the city because it was pretty challenging to keep that up, and we were able to get a little bit more city support. And then the firefighters also started to take us under their wing, thankfully, to help us out with some building projects. And watering when we didn't have water, so that was really nice. And we started reevaluating the format of the garden for what would be best for our community, because when we originally started it, it was more of me and some of my friends that wanted to have a community garden. I didn't know too much about it. I just said, hey, I need a hobby, let's try to garden. And then we started understanding our community a little bit better and the needs and the desires of the local residents. So we changed the format to go from individual boxes to a true community space that's shared. And we started a renovation project with the city and the firefighters where we bulldozed the garden, started fresh, and then in 2021, we started replanting. So a couple of things that we focus on is obviously food production. You see Jane with a big, pretty bunch of kale. We have banana trees that actually give us bananas and lots of fruits and vegetables. And then this is my favorite thing, flowers. So we do a couple different flower projects in the community. And we also work on community building because a lot of people want to meet new people in the area. We have a lot of people who join the garden who are new to the city. And, not only does it provide a community space, but it also builds friendship. So we go on hikes together. We spend time outside of the garden getting to know each other. And it's just become a really special thing for people who are new to have a group of friends. And we also have started doing activities with the senior center. And we love nature. See a big spider. That's the biggest one we've seen so far in the garden.
All right. When we divided our areas, we just decided we want to divide it so that each community member that joins us would be in charge in certain areas. And so these are our garden sections. The first one is our pergola, where firefighters helped build our little arches and little, I don't know what the entrance area. And then the second one was the guild, which is our food forest. That's where we planted at least 30 different trees, fruit trees and all different kinds of plants as well underneath.
It's actually more like 70.
Well, yeah. By now, yes. When we first started, it was more like 30, and then we kept adding on to it. And then we have a section called Super Size Me, which I actually didn't know about this name until yesterday. And I was like, Amy, what's Super Size Me? And she's like, oh, that's where our largest like pumpkins, like 100-pound pumpkins would be grown. And so, yeah, they just called it Super Size Me. And then there's a berry patch along the sides, and then the tropics, where it's all the way in the back, where you saw the banana trees. We have the California natives, which Linda and Nancy have worked on so well, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And then we also have our cutting flowers area. So a lot of our beds that the community members aren't able to use, sometimes we'll use it for flowers, and then we'll plant flowers everywhere as well, which is Amy's favorite, of course.
Okay, so this is the best slide. Usually you save the best for last, but I'm putting it in the beginning. So this is 2018 from Google Earth. See how barren and dry it is? And then that's 2020. Now, the next slide you're gonna see is 2023. Look at that. That's amazing. That's 2 years of growth and greening space. Thank you. I heard a little applause. And then here are just some more before and after pictures. This, when I first went into the garden, it was just tumbleweed. Then we cleared it all out, did a couple things, and then we replanted it on the right. And then a couple years later, we've turned it into this space. And this is Linda and Nancy's area. They are our most dedicated garden members. On the picture on the left used to be an asphalt parking lot. We put in a lot of man labor, dug out the asphalt, then called the city to help us do the rest because we were tired. And then we converted it into California natives. And during the summertime, we only have to water this area once every 6 weeks. And during winter, you don't have to water it at all. And it's full of birds and butterflies and bees. And it's the nicest area in the garden. And then this is my zone. It's called the tropics. I grow lots of tropical things, and you can see on the left that that's what it started as. And 2 years later, that's the growth that we were able to do. All right, so now let's get down to some details about the garden. So the garden is about 0.8 acres, so it's not a huge space, but it's good for what we need it for. Members can either have a membership or they can be a volunteer. If you're a member, you have more responsibility, and you also have more space if that's what you desire. Last year, we had over 200 volunteers come through the garden. We do classes, we do weekly produce donations. A lot of the interests of the garden members are in plant science, creativity, community. It's not just we're growing food, we're working on building our community. And there is no fee associated with the garden to join except for personal fees. This is something, though, that I would like to discuss because we have talked about it in the past of having a deposit because, sometimes life gets busy and you might neglect your garden space. And then you might decide that you need to resign from the garden. And then that puts one person in charge of cleaning up the space that now hasn't been tended. And we personally feel if there was a deposit, that there would be more incentive to clean up the space and then return the deposit. And I've calculated it out where I'm spending about 20 hours per person that leaves. And that's just a little too much time for me to personally have to do to clean up. So I would like, us to kind of think about maybe a way that we could avoid that from continuing to happen. And then a little bit about leadership. I'm in charge. Jane is still my right hand. She's a volunteer, but she gets many phone calls from me and requests from help and a little bit of begging. So overall, I'm in charge of garden upkeep, garden signups, personal management, conflict resolution, organizing classes, planning volunteer days, getting donations and fundraising, and promoting the garden. And that's quite a bit of task for a volunteer to do, and they're all very time intensive. It's basically a major group project, and there will always be personnel and conflict in the garden, and I know I represent the city, so I always want to be respectful and work with the garden members, but it does take quite a bit of time. All right, what we do. So this is a little bit more fun. We have gardening classes and we partner with local organizations. The gardening classes are always free. And the supplies that are being used at the classes are also provided with our community partners. So we've done pickling, kombucha, jam making, tomato preservation, and we work with IERCD and Master Food Gardeners, and also a representative from Dave Wilson Nursery. And then we also have immersive activities where we lead them as garden, where we work a lot with our florals. We do a floral donation program where we make bouquets for senior citizens in nursing homes on their birthdays. And we also have kids activity like rock painting, tablescaping. And the garden also provides design demonstration where we do teach people, if they're interested in learning other techniques, you know, how to install a California native garden or do backyard permaculture, how to do those kind of things. What did I skip? Oh, I skipped a slide. Oopsie, this is an important one. Thank you, Jane. All right, funding. So a few years ago, we received $5,000 per year in funding. However, we do not receive the $5,000 because every year I submit our supply list, and then the supply list is not procured. And then the year expires, and I've been told that we cannot get the supplies that we had ordered. So I do have a question about that. Since I am submitting our supply list well in advance, I'll usually do it either before the fiscal year starts or a few months into it. And I follow up pretty continuously about it, that we are wondering where the money's where the money's going and what we can do to avoid this from continuing to happen. Yes, please.
So what happened with the funding is we at the beginning of fiscal year we budget $5,000, and a lot of time you work with John Trujillo, our public works guy. When you request an item, we usually go over and give it to you. So I kind of surprised you said you really didn't receive it. So next time email me, I will let taken care of. But as far as the funding, if you don't use it, you don't use it. The money stay with the city, and then the next fiscal year we budget another $5,000 for the community garden. So you're not get. It's not like if you didn't spend it last year, can I get the $10,000 this year? No.
Well, I would like to request that we do receive $10,000 because last year I ordered in November and we did not get our supplies.
Again, we can work with you, but our budget is pretty limited. So.
Well, the money would have been allocated to another project, so we would still request that we receive last year's supplies because we build every year. It's not like one year we need the same thing every year. We planned it out for 3 years of saying this year we need this year we need this, and this year we need this. So if we get a year behind, then we can't move forward.
Let work with me and John Trujillo, and you never show me your plan, so I have no idea what you plan to do. So if we work together and said, hey, Jarb, this is my 3-year, 5-year plan, this is what we plan to accomplish, I'd be more power. Be happy to work with you. You know me. You call me,
Yes, I appreciate your support.
Yes.
So you are saying that we can get our supplies from last year that were ordered early into the fiscal year?
No, I said I will work with you with our limited funding. So.
Well, I mean, the 5,000 still.
Amy,
it's a
how does it
reallocation.
work? How does it work? So you purchase and then you get reimbursed, or is the money up front and then you say, okay, we're going to, how does the 5,000 get to you?
Thank you. That's been something that we thought we could make a little bit easier for the city. So before, when we first started, I said, can I make the purchases with pre-approval and then I do a reimbursement? That way it's not labor for the city to go and pick up the items. And they said that won't work. So I said, okay. So they said, please give us an itemized list with the item that you want. where it's from, and how much it costs. So I've been sending in those itemized lists every year.
But how often? Because don't supplies, like say you're in spring and you're going to need a lot more supplies, and then comes December and you need fewer. So you may not know, like one time a year, how many supplies you're going to need.
We actually do. We plan out the whole year and we make one request. And then anything that's above and beyond, we fundraise for ourselves.
So you submit one request, and when do you submit the request usually? What time frame?
Either before the fiscal year starts or before December. So it's before December of the current fiscal year.
So did you submit already? You submitted your supplies for this 2024?
Yes. And I haven't, I was
Have you-
told to submit them to someone in City Hall, and that person has not responded to my emails.
No. You submitted to John Trujillo.
Well, John Trujillo and I discussed this last week, that I would
Okay.
be submitting it through him in the future. So going forward, John will be taking care
Right,
of it.
because he's the one who purchased it and delivered it to the community garden.
Yes, but before that, I was submitting it to someone else.
Okay.
And we were also thinking that, we understand labor is in short supply, that I would also be willing to go to Lowe's, put everything in a cart, leave the cart there, and then if the city needs to make the purchase, they can just come and check out, and then that would save some time, if that would work better.
I'm looking at finance director.
So did you get, so you have all your supplies ready to go and you're ready to purchase right now?
No, I'm saying I could do that. Lowe's, we're good friends with Lowe's, so Lowe's will let us do that kind of thing where we just put it aside and then the city will come and purchase.
Can we arrange that, or how do you guys?
Sonia?
Hi, good evening. That could be arranged. We can have somebody meet you out there and make the purchase. But we need to look into the budget and look to see where it's budgeted, how much, where, and then find the list that you submitted. So if Jarvin and I need to talk about it and figure it all out and come up with a plan. And
So
then, just so you're aware, our budget year runs from July 1st through June 30th. When we start planning for the budget, we actually start in February, March, and that's when all the requests go in. And then it goes through a review, approval, and then finally adoption by the end of June. And so the list that you submitted, I don't know, where it went or what happened to it, but we'll definitely work together to figure out.
So to clarify, are you saying that you are wanting a list of supplies, or we're talking about a flat rate amount?
It depends on what the plan is. Right now, I don't believe there's a plan in place, right, Jarb?
Again, it's flat rate for $5,000. So and again, you just submit the list to John Trujillo, and I'd be happy to CC me and be happy to work with you and John and go pick it up. So and deliver it to the community garden.
That works
And
for me,
he
and
done that
I'm
before. He helped you clean up the community gardens
working with John
last
is
month. Yes.
great. We really appreciate it, and I assume that this will not continue to happen, but since it has been happening since 2021, we did want to address it because we really do need last year's supplies to move forward.
Hey, Jarb, I have a question. Are you charging labor in that 5,000?
No. No, it's a city labor.
You have accounting for how much labor that costs us?
No.
John
Again-
does have some numbers on it, though.
Yeah, we have park department crews that help them clean up the community garden and so forth. City crew.
So what's the plan? What's the plan? So
The plan is if she gave me the list, or I can talk to
Okay.
John Trujillo tomorrow,
Okay.
and if he can show me the list, and if you have money still in the account, I'd be happy to go buy it and pick it up within $5,000.
so someone will get back to Amy.
Or she have my email address. She's,
Okay.
she's good. She's
Yes,
really
I'm pretty good with my emails.
Exactly. So, she's good.
So I will email you and John tomorrow. I talked to John today about it, too.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next item. We do receive donations because we feel that even though the city does give us a budget, that as a garden, that we're also responsible for providing some of our own supplies. So we have a really great relationship with the Lowe's. manager, and she usually gives us around $6,000 worth of supplies every year. And Baker Creek gives us yearly supplies too. And also, if we're interested in further funding, which I think it would be really great, there are so many grants available for community gardens and what we do at the garden. And you can see on the right, I'm not going to read it to you, but we've had a lot of participation from local organizations and businesses who have donated to the garden that have saved thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So I think that's pretty cool that there's so much buy-in with the community to build the garden.
So our goals for our coming year, we really want to focus on education, nutrition, and recreation purposes. One is the benefit of the community by creating demonstrated learning gardens. And the reason why we put that on there is because we realized when we first started, we were really excited about growing as much as we can, and we realized it wasn't as sustainable as it can be, even because we don't have enough community involvement. So we thought, what does the city need, or what does the city community want? And a lot of these people actually say they want more educational parts of it, and then involvement with children. And so we decided, okay, we're going to clear out some areas that we are growing right now, and actually do more of this community relationship, personal wellness, and environmental wellness. And this will, in the end, actually help with decreasing our labor needs and demands, so we don't have to manage people don't like to keep weeding and weeding and weeding. They want to actually learn how to grow and grow well. And we know what we need to do is focus on our soils, because our soils will take care of our plants, and our plants will be healthy if our soil is good. And so that's our focus at our community garden. So we really want to focus on healthy organic food and we do not at all spray anything on our produce, because we care about who's eating it. We care about the children. We care about the people that are sick. We donate our produce to a lot of people that don't get healthy organic food. So, but we want to educate people too, and that's the biggest part that we're going to focus on for our goals.
Okay, so I know some of the community members have been diligently emailing council members about some of these requests. Someone did ask me, did you guys tell people to email? And the answer is no, but I started saying no myself. Of saying, all these activities sound really awesome and great, but we need to build our structure first, and we need support from council and city management to be able to provide activities and to also continue what we've already started. So these are just a list of people who have reached out to us. We have schools asking if they can come and do a field trip. I haven't said yes to that because that's a little bit of liability. The senior center asked for activities. People want free mulch, gardening classes, food preservation classes, water conservation classes, community engagement opportunities, seed starting, and more. I don't know what's going on this year, but people really want to get involved and be active in the city, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it's definitely something to explore if we already have a garden and they're interested in these kind of activities. We kind of went over this, so we're just going to go ahead and skip it. So we really wanted to talk tonight about community engagement, because that seems to be a really big theme in the community. And when people reach out to us to talk about it and to ask what we can do to build that community engagement, this is kind of how we view it, that our community is, of course, residents, council, city interest groups, and visitors to the city. And what really has been highlighted when people have stopped by to the garden to talk to me, because we give a lot of free stuff away. So we're like, oh, if you want flowers, come by. If you want squash, come by. Anytime you want something, just stop by and ask. And then that usually starts a conversation where it looks like people really want to have relationship building opportunities where they get to know each other. because if you're new to the city or maybe you don't have a social circle or a support system, people are really eager for having that in their lives right now. And I'm assuming that some of it is from coming out of COVID and being isolated. And now that we're a few years out, people are looking to build back the community. I made up this example. I don't know if any of you guys ever used the three-legged stool approach. I learned it when I used to coach volleyball. So we think that in order for the garden to really be successful, we need to build more stability into it, and we need active involvement from our community, the city council, and city management. So we have had some challenges in the garden. I'll talk about my adventures maybe last. So a few years ago, we had a lot of theft going on, and most people assumed the theft was they were stealing squash, fruits, and vegetables. They were not. They were stealing building materials. They stole thousands worth of dollars of things that we had donated to the garden. So Lowe's had donated $2,000 worth of hardware cloth for our garden boxes, and they stole all of it and sold it. They stole our bird bath. They stole brand new plants that had come from the nursery. They stole our snack box. They ate the snacks too, because we found the box but not the snacks. And it really, really put us back a lot, and it really discouraged donors from continuing to donate to us, knowing that what they had donated had been stolen. And then, of course, the rising costs. There's a lot of division of responsibilities, there's safety concerns, and there's a really high labor demand right now. Last year, it happens, but the city brought us some soil that was native soil, and unfortunately was full of seeds of weeds that are very hard to eradicate, and we did not know that, so we spread it all throughout the garden. So this year we've been having to do quite a bit of weeding every single time we go. For my adventures, the garden members really wanted me to put this in there. So adventures maybe not, it's not really positive in this sense. So I've been through quite a bit as the garden leader, running the garden. Part of it has been, I've been battered in the garden. I've had stalker situations with the garden. I've had multiple trips to the hospital from injuries. My car was totaled, and many other things. And I know our garden members have been very concerned about my longevity with the garden and how long that I can keep sustaining being in charge when things keep happening. So we would probably want to talk maybe a little bit more about safety and how to make it a little bit more city-oriented than having maybe the central face for everything, because it has caused some issues. And then this is our last slide. So the garden decided this year to try to reduce our labor a little bit. Right now we have volunteer sessions pretty much weekly, and it's great, except it's really hard to find people to lead the volunteer session. So at one of our quarterly garden meetings, they said, we want less volunteer days, but bigger volunteer days. So instead of having them every week, we want to do one a month. And then that way we get more participation and we can finish an area and then move forward versus having 2 or 3 people at a time. And I just figure we don't need to have so many different projects, with all the requests that we've heard from residents of wanting to build connections with city leaders, like city council members. And the other problem that we've noticed is that residents aren't aware that there is a garden. So we've been going to the Sunday market and passing out flyers. Sometimes we've helped canvas and we drop our garden flyer off, and probably 90% of the people we speak to said that they're not aware there's a community garden for them to participate in. So we are requesting help to let the city know that there is a community garden, because I feel it's a little bit exclusive if you only find the garden through social media, because we know not everybody has social media and that excludes certain populations. And we want to be inclusive. And if, you don't have social media, you really don't know how you would know that there is a garden, because that's where we find most of our people. And we think that together with the city and council, we could accomplish multiple residents' requests, like the lady who was here last meeting who was asking about children's activities. We can definitely host children's activities at the garden that are really fun, but we do need support. So the solution that the community garden members came up with is they want to do community days. This would help promote the garden. It would raise awareness about the garden. And since the 5 council people are pretty popular and everybody wants to meet them, we would love to have them participate with us. So for participation, we would love it if any of the council members would want to do a community day with us, where you help invite the people in your district, the residents in your constituents, or anyone else interested. And then you could host some sort of meet and greet with the residents, and then we could have like a garden session afterwards. So we had some ideas. We could do a garden class, we could do an Earth Day tree planting, or cleanup, or art in the park, or cleanup, or possibly a cleanup. Any of those ideas, we would be more than happy to work with city council people to plan. And there's also some other ideas like doing Earth Day, Make a Difference Day, Plant a Flower Day, National Garden Day, Arbor Day, anything to start celebrating our community. And also we stand for wellness, and we think the garden is completely in line with our city's mission and vision, and we're just looking for a little bit more support. The end. But we are really interested to know if anyone would be interested or available to plan community days with us.
Amy, I have a question for you. Do you keep track of the numbers? Like any numbers that you guys do, thinking about like how many kids come there, how many adults come there, how many, like all the different activities that you guys are involved with? Do you guys have numbers? Can you share those with us? If you have, or collecting on an ongoing basis from now on, these kind of numbers, like if you know how many visitors sign in, how many kids have tracked, how many donations have come from Lowe's, all of these different things to make it so we get a bigger picture of how many people are coming there, or the demographics of people that are coming there. One I'm really interested to see is kids coming there. And so tracking those numbers, if it's low, like I want to help you get kids there, especially from the elementary schools. So that would be nice to see. And then I'd like to see some sort of child activity where we do something with kids fun there, and working with Cynthia and with you that we get something like that. So I definitely support, but I'm glad to hear that there's $5,000 to support. So I think this can become a focal point for the city, especially if you guys are able to connect back to our heritage, right? Why was Loma Linda founded? So if there's any pieces of the garden you can tie into that culture, there may also be grants we can look for to help you build that, especially getting back to the roots of Loma Linda. But I want to thank you guys for coming and sharing. I'm really impressed with how it's grown. Thank you.
Yes, and we can provide the numbers. We track everyone who comes into the garden because they all have to sign a waiver. So we do have the numbers that we can send. And I was reminded of something that actually we also wanted to address regarding finances. So when we had the garden thefts, we actually, the sheriff department, thank you very much, was able to apprehend the person who had been stealing from us so many times. You probably shouldn't sell things on Facebook you stole. But, when we went to court, I asked the DA about restitution, and they said, you probably won't get it. And I said, hey, let's give it a try. So I went to court 8 times, and we got restitution ordered for the items that were damaged. And it wasn't a huge amount. It was maybe $1,200. But then when I went to the finance department, they said we will not be able to get that money for the garden's account. And, you know, I've been thinking about it, and I understand that. I understand that the check from the court comes in one, it's not itemized. So how do you know if the garden money is in there or not? But in reporting to our donors, donors do not want to hear that restitution was ordered to recover and repair things that were damaged that they donated, but it won't actually make it back to the garden. So I would like to know if there's anything that we can do about that, because it's a little bit, it's uncomfortable for me to report to a donor, yes, your item was stolen. Yes, I went to court and got restitution. No, I can't get the money to replace it.
I would like to answer that. To be honest, this is the first I've heard of anything that you've mentioned. I think it's great. I think have received a lot of community involvement. I have not heard about the restitution that you went after. I'm not sure who you spoke with in finance. And then just to answer your previous questions regarding the budget, when those funds are not used, they go back to fund balance. We don't carry any open appropriations, so that just gets returned to the fund balance. That's why we cannot right now, if 5,000 is approved.
Well, I
we
think my
can't do
concern was,
10,000.
I understand use it or lose it philosophy, but because the funds were claimed and we did put in a supply list, the city didn't order the supply list. So, and since it happened multiple years and we've had this conversation multiple times, it seems as though there should be some sort of remedy for the garden, because we didn't not request it. It wasn't supplied and filled by the city.
Okay, well, that's something we will look into. But then the other thing to consider, as the mayor mentioned, it's salaries. It sounds like personnel, our Public Works Department and our Fire Department has been putting in a lot of labor hours. So the city is paying for a lot of their salaries, their benefits. So their billable hours would probably take up a lot of that $5,000 that you have requested. And then also tracking the equipment and the supplies that have been donated. All of those things should have gone through finance so that we can record them. And then if they are donated for the city's purpose, for the city's use, that becomes the city's equipment, which means we have to figure out a way to safeguard if we know that they're the city's property. We have to track all of the supplies, maybe keep inventory. So that's going to take more staff time to keep track of. And then, like I mentioned, donations, we should be writing, if they're being donated to the city, they should come through the city, and then we issue a check. So we should be recording that in some sort of donation account.
We do have a donation account.
Okay, and you've been submitting reimbursements?
I have submitted reimbursements,
Have you
yes.
gotten reimbursed?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then,
And for donations, part of the problem has been, obviously, in-kind donations, they probably just asked me to come and pick up. And sometimes, like, you know, Whitewater gave us a truckload of flagstone. They're not going to really deliver that to the city. They're just going to take it to the garden. And when people have come down to the finance office to make a donation, they've been turned away.
okay.
So then they come to me and they're like, hey, Amy, I went to the city to make the donation.
Do you know
But
who they're going to?
They're going to the finance department, and what they're saying is, we're not equipped right now to take your donation. You need to come back another day.
Okay. Can you have them talk to me, Sonia Fabella, in finance the next time
Absolutely.
that happens?
Thank you.
And then also, I assume you've been talking to Jennifer from our risk management?
I have not.
Okay, because she also needs to be aware of all of this. And then there's also costs associated, such as water. Is there electricity running through there?
There's electricity, yes.
Okay, so all of those costs need to be tracked as well.
So I know John Trujillo does track things, and to kind of like go back to the $5,000, when that $5,000 allocation was given to us, it was specifically noted that it was for supplies.
Okay. So Jarvin and I will have to talk about it, because it sounds like it's actually more costly than just the $5,000 for equipment.
He is correct. The 5,000 only for the supply, the manpower and equipment. John Trujillo does keep track of that, and it's tune of $12,000 to $17,000. So we keep track of that. Yes, yes. So
So that's why I think it'll help. like all of the people that are coming and the interest and the things like that, like showing different numbers from different things when you go out and do activities, it really supports, because that is also your time donated, even though it's in kind, it's a cost, to offset the cost of electricity and water and things like that. And honestly, I don't want you guys to go away feeling, deflated, or we've got more hurdles for you to jump through. So I really appreciate, and anything we can do to make it where they feel valued, or we make it better, and thinking smarter, not harder, not more work for us, right?
Right. That's why she know me very well, because I very support of the community garden. So be happy to work with you. There's no problem at all. So.
And if we do want to start billing and tracking items, like another issue has been, like, as gardeners, we're very concerned about water conservation. But when we have a leak, it might take 2-3 months for someone to come and fix it. So to say that the garden is using X amount of water, then would the city be able to fix leaks and issues quickly?
That's,
Absolutely.
I'm only bringing up,
Like,
I'm only bringing up these items because it isn't a public meeting, and our auditors do watch these meetings. And so all of these things need to be tracked for audit purposes. Not trying to discourage you in any way. I think it's fabulous, and I think I commend you for all the community involvement you've received. 200 volunteers, that's
That's a lot.
phenomenal. So thank you for all of your efforts.
No, and I think we agree with the tracking, because then we know where we really stand. Okay, thank you.
Amy, you've done a good job. This is a very nice presentation, very complete. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
But I think as you are figuring out, a good deed requires a lot of politics or city management or whatever, more than I wish we had. But it is what it is. What you're doing in trying to create, you have created a community garden. That's a noble effort. That's the kind of effort we want to see in our community. But things get complicated. And so now we're trying to work our way through some of the complications. But I want to acknowledge the effort you've put in, the recruitment that you've done to bring citizens into being involved in this. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. And we're fully supportive. But now you also understand it gets complicated. And that's just the world we live in right now. I'm sorry, what?
And I think too, some people said, hey, why do you keep doing this, Amy? It seems like it's complicated, it's political, all these other things have happened. And you know what, many years ago, someone told me, they're like, hey, Amy, when I didn't have food, you fed me.
Yeah.
And feeding one person who's in need, or, anything that I can do that makes any fight or battle or politics or extra work worth it to me.
That's a good point. Good point. We have, as has already been noted by several people at the dais, we have budget challenges. And we tried to increase our taxes by 1 cent, and that failed. And
I think we could say tabled. Maybe not fail, maybe tabled.
That's an optimistic view of viewing it. I would say failed, but I accept your perspective. Because the city's costs for everything have also climbed, just like it has in the rest of the country. And so we have a special committee that's formed, that's chaired by Councilman Rhonda, I'm trying to, Huang, and Ovi Popescu, Councilman Popescu is honored as well to find resources that will raise additional funding that will make up for that. I hope that we are successful in that, because I'd like to see us be able to provide more funding for this. You'll still have to go through the bureaucratic things we just talked about, but I would like to see us be able to do that. This is the kind of stuff we should do.
Thank you.
So I agree with you. We just need to figure out how to get from point A to point B right now. And so, good job. I congratulate you. You did a very nice report. We just need to keep working on the details so that it becomes feasible.
Understood. Thank you. And I'm just asking for money that's been promised to be given. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
And if I've got $100 in my checking account and I offer you $500, I still am $400 short. And that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Amy, I have a question. As I was taking some notes, and I was actually looking up some of the other community gardens in the area, and I do see that there is a model where people pay a deposit or they rent a plot. I guess is that the way? That was a little weird for me because I think plot and I think cemetery, but I guess is that what you refer to?
Yeah, a garden plot, yeah.
So anyway, but I do have concern because if, like you were saying, if folks are getting food, I mean, that they wouldn't normally otherwise get out of the garden, does that preclude some folks from being able to get that food if we were to charge for it? I'm not sure how that works.
We
So I had
have
a question.
talked about having a fee, and I was told that in order to have a fee for a city program, you have to do a fee study, and the fee study costs thousands of dollars, so it wouldn't fiscally make sense at this point to have a fee. I don't know if the same holds for deposit, but our hopes in, if anyone, like even if you need supplies right now at the garden and they tell me on the side, hey, Amy, like this is my personal situation, then we'll find a way to get them what they need. And we don't want anybody to be excluded from participation, so we'll always make it happen. But, with a deposit, the deposit would be returned upon your, release of membership. So I don't think that would create too much of a hindrance.
Okay. I was just curious, just based
But
on those two things.
it is pretty typical for there to be a yearly fee with a community garden. I don't think I maybe know of one garden, but it's a different kind of structure that doesn't have a fee. All the other ones, especially ones that are associated with a city, do have fees for membership.
And I see the university operates one also in San Bernardino, but looking at their website, I'm not sure. Do you know if that's completely open? Do people pay a fee there? Or
You're talking about the Caps Garden, right?
it's see, I don't want to butcher it, but
Salud.
Yes. Yes.
I'm familiar with that garden. I am not sure though if they have a fee.
Yeah, it is CAPS program. Yes. Okay. I was just curious how that could help or work if we had to do that. And then I'm sure our city attorney's listening intently to all of this, and I don't know if you need to weigh in with any thoughts, comments, or things like that. Maybe that's more of a staff discussion you guys can have or whatnot. But and then just my final comment, I guess, is I was curious also, but I think you're going to work with Sonia and Jarb as to who you were emailing and all that other stuff to make sure those messages were getting to the right people.
Well, I was emailing the person I was originally told to email. So I'll communicate with them directly about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So work with Jarb, work with Sonia. I know you've been very careful not to put that person's name out, so I'm not going to push that any further. And we'll see. Okay. Any other comments from the dais? Okay, thank you.
All right,
Great
thank
job. Thank
you.
you very much. All right, we're going from something very interesting now to the mundane. We have the consent calendar.
I move it.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Motions to approve the consent calendar as submitted, including, excuse me, the amended agreement for agenda item number 3F. Please vote. Councilmember Popescu?
It didn't show up.
It didn't show up?
It's like super slow. It's always been slow on mine too.
Oh, okay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. We have 4A and 4B, which are tied to our last month's meeting, and this is the second reading on both. Mr. City Manager? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, council members, the next two items were presented at the last council meetings. What we're asking today is that we waive the reading in its entirety, direct the clerk to read by title only, and to adopt both ordinances. One is for the small home lot development, and the other one is for the update to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. If you have any questions, though, I am available.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go ahead and, do we do it separately, or you want to, okay, let's go ahead and do the first one. 4A, make a motion to waive the reading for Council Bill O2024-06 in its entirety and direct the city clerk to read by title only and adopt an ordinance of the City of Loma Linda establishing a small home lot development. So that was a motion.
Second.
Motion is to adopt Council Bill O-2024-06, waiving the reading of the ordinance in its entirety and read by title only, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Loma Linda, California, amending the municipal code to establish a small home lot development, 10 residential units maximum, chapter in Title 17 zoning of the Loma Linda Municipal Code. I will please take your vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Guess it's 4B.
I move the same treatment of 4B.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is to adopt Council Bill O-2024-07, waiving the reading of the ordinance in its entirety and read by title only. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Loma Linda, California, amending in part Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.110, accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units of the City of the Loma Linda Municipal Code. I will take your vote, please. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to new business reports of council members. I do have something, and I want to test the temperature with you guys. I got an email from a resident today, actually, who is struggling with kind of a lighting dispute with their neighbor. The neighbor has placed some very high intensity lighting that directs at this resident's home. And they're obviously have some type of conflict between the two of them. The resident came down here and spoke with code enforcement and was told that we don't have an ordinance or anything to deal with lighting nuisance, so to speak. And so the resident said that there are other cities that he's researched that have typical ordinances. I asked him to send some stuff to me and that we could potentially bring it to look at here. And I can share the photos with you guys later, but he submitted some pictures, and I mean, it was like there were floodlights directed at his house, and not knowing the full story, just half of it, I would be bothered also if I had floodlights coming into my bedroom windows at nighttime. So I'm not really sure if there's an appetite to at least look at that. If there is, I'll see if he sends me something back and we can run it by council and see if there's something to look at there. You
Yeah.
guys good with that? Okay. Okay, and that's it. Reports of officers? Oh, sorry,
Oh.
Ron.
Yeah, I wanted to compliment the city manager and Public Works for getting Redlands Boulevard repaved so that I'm not bumping up and down while I'm going to Costco. And it's remarkable how I turn on Richardson and it's wonderful until I cross the bridge. And then, you know, I'm worried about potholes. So I'm serious. We look at surrounding communities. San Bernardino's an easy target, but Redlands is one as well. And our streets are so much better than any of the other surrounding communities. So, hands up.
And was that a full grind down or just a partial grind down? Because it didn't seem like you took it all the way down.
It's an overlay, so we grind the 5 feet adjacent to the curb, but we fix the area, we grind, pave the area around the manhole that is all, and the
Oh, that's
area
what
that's
was
sinking.
Okay,
right.
because I
Yeah,
thought
so
we were
fix
going to
all
do
of
an
that.
entire.
No, we fix all the part that the base failed, so we recompact and rebuild it. Yes, rubberized. Yeah. Today they be replacing traffic signal loops, and then adjust the sewer manhole, and then we wait a week or 2 weeks to do the striping. So
Since I just went to Costco this afternoon, what's going on with what was supposed to be an optical building on the corner of Richardson and San Bernardino? That's kind of been languishing for quite a while.
that the property at northwest corner of Mountain on Redlands and Richardson,
Yes.
they're building, but just slowly. I think they probably lose the.
Well, they built it, but there's nothing going on.
Follow with you at all?
Yeah, they're just.
So it's Lorena's problem? Oh, my goodness.
Like most developers, it's funding has been difficult, but they have been to the site every month or two, and so they're continuing to slowly work on construction, and for the most part, they've completed the shell, and now they're working on the interior, but yeah, I think they're still looking
And
for
who
tenants
is
as
they?
well.
Who is they? Is there an owner of that?
Yes, we're in communication with the same applicant that did the presentation a few years back, Mr. Brad Freeman.
A few years,
It's the
that's
same
why.
applicant, yes.
Okay. So they're still anticipating opening some kind of a business there at some point?
They are.
Because we've talked about optical ophthalmology, we've talked about a restaurant, we've talked about all kinds of stuff going in there, and I'm just curious just where we're at.
Yeah, it's still the same. That is his intent.
That's the intent. Okay. I'm just curious. And honestly, I haven't had any constituents that have asked me about it. So this is my issue. I'm not representing anybody.
But we do
but it's
stay in
weird.
communication with him regularly.
Okay. Okay. Well, at least they've got the parking lot in. And so,
Overflow for the hotels. Okay, moving on.
One question, I have some emails from community members, and they're asking if the vegetation on the south side of the wash, the basin or whatever, where the houses, I think it's that kind of wash basin where the homeless will camp on our side, right in the plants. They're asking if those can be maintained more regularly.
Where is it at?
Do you know, like, if you go over the railroad tracks So is it Bryn Mawr? You're going over the railroad tracks, and then before you go over those, or right after you go over the railroad tracks, there's that housing district right there. The Romanian church is on the left, and then the housing district. So that basin back there, I guess the homeless like to go there. But they said right by the wall behind the houses, there's vegetation. They said, could that be maintained more regularly?
That's belong to the railroad right away. So the answer is no, we cannot go into the railroad.
No, that's where you, I think, didn't you plant trees and things in there? Right on the, so no, it's not on that side, it's on the north side of the homes. So where you walk the trail, the walking trail right there, and then the vegetation.
Again, have that person email me. I'd be happy to. If it didn't see it right away,
for-
we'll be happy to maintain it.
Okay.
The challenge is we have the railroad right away, and then we have county flood control right away. So
Yeah, but I think there's some vegetation that we own.
if it's a city owned, we'd be happy
We can
to maintain it. Yes.
Okay, I'll forward that.
Yes. Yeah, we get in trouble into the railroad.
You're talking behind the credit union? Or adjacent to the credit union? So, okay. All right. Okay, I think that wraps up our city council meeting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Just let you know that I will be on vacation this Friday, November 15, and come back on December 2nd. And during that time, Chief Dan Harger will be acting city manager. Go to visit my mom again. So
Okay, so what's our next council date, and are we still doing Thai Christmas?
yes. If not, he'd be very mad at me. I think his next city council meeting is December 10, right? December 10. And yes, there will be a Thai food dinner.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Got to make that. Yeah, are you good with that? Do you want to look at a different date? And then what about Christmas tree lighting?
That will be December 2nd. It's a Monday. I'm working with the chamber to plan
So
that.
before our next meeting, we just got to be aware of that. Okay.
And then the Loma Linda Classic. Loma Linda Classic with the
pockets aren't big
run
enough to be
is on
Santa Claus.
December 8th, Sunday, December 8th.
Okay. And then, or is the fire department, you guys doing the Santa Claus drive rounds too?
Yes, I talked to Chris.
Yeah, we're doing them again. I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but it's going to be in December again.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, I think that wraps up our city council agenda, and we can move on to your preference, Madam Clerk.
Housing Authority, please.
Housing Authority. Mr. City Manager, are there any items to be added or deleted there?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone from the public wishing to speak on any non-agendized Housing Authority items, please run forward. Milford, you're still here. We haven't seen you in a while. This is your opportunity. You're going to pass. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. First,
Second.
and a second. Madam Clerk.
Motion is to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll close the Housing Authority and move on to the successor agency. Mr. City Manager, any items there to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any non-agendized successor agency item, please come forward. Chandra, this is your chance this time. No? None for you either. Okay, we'll move on.
Since you mentioned her, the groundbreaking for the pediatric outpatient clinics is November the 19th at 10. Yes.
Okay, let the record for the successor agency reflect the fact that, no, I'm just kidding. It's all good. Okay, consent calendar.
Second.
Yeah, a second.
Motion is to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that concludes all of our agendas. Have a good evening. Have a happy Thanksgiving.